Chi-Yul then said that Jin-Woo had saved them from the boss's attack. If Jin-Woo hadn't ordered them to bow down, they would have undoubtedly been killed instantly. Jin-Woo then noticed that Chi-Yul's hand was severed. He quickly provided a bandage to stop the bleeding. Chi-Yul actually wanted to ask for help from Ju-Hee to handle this, but he hesitated because Ju-Hee was genuinely terrified in such a situation. This was the main reason Ju-Hee only participated in low-level raids. Chi-Yul had experienced a B-rank dungeon raid before, but he had never seen a boss like this. The possibility was that the boss was a rank or S rank. Then one of the hunters wanted to try to leave the room. He didn't want to die foolishly there. The hunter began to unleash his speed-based powers. Chi-Yul tried to stop the hunter, but unfortunately, he still wanted to leave right away. Then something happened as he started heading towards the exit. Of course, everyone became more frightened because if they left, they would die instantly. Jin-Woo was confused by this situation because the boss did not attack them if they remained still. Then, Jin-Woo realized something after remembering the commandments read by Chi-Yul. He concluded that the boss they were facing was the god mentioned in the commandments. This dungeon had rules to be followed. The first commandment was to respect the god. So, Jin-Woo tried to verify it directly now if he violated that commandment. Initially, Chi-Yul prohibited Jin-Woo from moving, but he saw Jin-Woo's gaze was genuinely serious. It wasn't for attempting something foolish like the previous hunter. When Jin-Woo stood up and stared at the boss, Jin-Woo almost got attacked by the boss. This time, Jin-Woo understood the meaning of the first commandment. He immediately told the other hunters to bow down to the boss. Initially, they felt that Jin-Woo was talking nonsense, but Jin-Woo explained that the boss would not attack those who bowed down to him. That was the meaning of respect the god. Jin-Woo then bowed down to the boss, and the other hunters followed him. After a few seconds, the hunters were suddenly shocked by what they had just witnessed. The boss stood up and began walking towards the hunters. Jin-Woo said that the second commandment must be carried out, but unfortunately, Jin-Woo did not understand the meaning of praise the god. Then one hunter dared to try to carry out the second commandment. Unfortunately, the hunter was immediately stepped on by the boss because his worship did not comply with the dungeon rules. The other hunters panicked and ran to save themselves. Jin-Woo immediately took Ju-Hee as far away as possible from the boss's steps. Then Park tried to approach one of the armed statues there, and he died instantly from the statue's attack. Jin-Woo continued thinking about the meaning of the second commandment. He couldn't leave Ju-Hee alone. After Jin-Woo saw the types of statues there, he realized that the instrument statues might be the answer to the second commandment. Jin-Woo immediately shouted to tell the hunters to stand in front of the instrument statues. But when Jin-Woo reached the instrument statue, the statue did not play its music. Of course, Jin-Woo immediately ran to another instrument statue because one statue could only be occupied by one person. Ju-Hee was safe now, and the boss was chasing Jin-Woo. Unfortunately, Jin-Woo had mistakenly chosen a statue there. Fortunately, Jin-Woo managed to avoid the statue's attack, although he was severely injured. Jin-Woo tried his best to move, and finally, he reached the instrument statue. The boss no longer pursued the hunters, and he returned to his king's chair. Ju-Hee immediately approached Jin-Woo, and she saw Jin-Woo's leg was severed due to the boss's stomp. Then Ju-Hee tried her best to heal Jin-Woo's leg, but Jin-Woo said that Ju-Hee didn't need to push herself anymore. Shortly afterward, Ju-Hee's face was covered in blood because she could no longer heal Jin-Woo. After the completion of the second commandment, there was no immediate threat from the statues in the room. The hunters rested while debating among themselves. Many hunters had fallen victim in the room, and now only 6 hunters remained: Chi-Yul, Kim, Ju-Hee, Jin-Woo, and 2 others. Kim blamed Chi-Yul for leading them into this dangerous dungeon. However, other hunters disagreed, pointing out that Kim was the one who initially agreed to enter when the voting began. Then Chi-Yul stated that he would take responsibility for his negligence as the group leader. Shortly afterward, the boss summoned an altar in the middle of the room. Jin-Woo mentioned that this was the third commandment, worship the god. The likely meaning of this commandment was to test the loyalty of the boss's followers. If they were loyal, they would become offerings to the boss. Kim raised his sword towards Chi-Yul, insisting that he should be the one to take responsibility for the incident. Despite the other hunters asserting that Chi-Yul was not at fault, Kim still wanted Chi-Yul as the offering. Chi-Yul decided to approach the altar alone, but nothing happened to him. Instead, a red flame ignited in the circle of the altar. Upon seeing this, Jinwoo felt that the offering was not meant to sacrifice someone. Because of that, Jinwoo asked for help from the other 2 hunters to carry him to the altar. When they reached the altar, 3 more red flames ignited. However, Jinwoo still didn't understand the meaning of the 3rd commandment. Waiting for assistance from outside would expose them to further threats from the boss. Worse yet, if they waited for more than 7 days, the gate would break, causing a dungeon break. This meant that the terrifying boss would attack the city. Jinwoo then invited Kim and Joo-hee to join at the altar, and red flames matched the number of remaining hunters. Once they were at the altar, blue flames suddenly surrounded them, and the entrance opened again. The blue flames gradually disappeared, and each statue approached them slowly. Jinwoo tried to gaze at some statues, and they stopped moving. Therefore, Jinwoo instructed the hunters to take turns looking at each statue. This way, the statues would not approach them. Unfortunately, after some time passed, one hunter there gave up because of a mental attack. Eventually, she couldn't withstand staring at the statues and left the room. Even another hunter followed her and exited the room. The door closed slowly if the red flame extinguished as the number of hunters at the altar decreased. Initially, Kim also wanted to leave, but Jinwoo restrained him. With fewer hunters at the altar, the risk of death increased as the statues surrounding them continued to approach. The blue flame signaled the 3rd commandment, and if the hunters could keep staring at the statues continuously, they would be safe. Unfortunately, this theory was not entirely correct. There was a possibility they might be trapped again inside. Then, Kim admitted that he honestly didn't expect Jinwoo, the world's weakest hunter, to bring them safely to this point. Despite that, Kim still wanted to go home and meet his family. He didn't want to die, and this was his chance to get out of the dungeon. Therefore, Kim thanked Jinwoo, dropped his sword, and ran towards the entrance. Of course, Jinwoo was angered by Kim's words. Jinwoo tried his best to gaze at each statue, which was getting closer to the altar. Jinwoo cried because he still wanted to live and fulfill his family's financial responsibilities. Then, Chi-yeol instructed Joo-hee to take Jinwoo out of there. The door wouldn't close as long as one person remained at the altar. Chi-yeol prioritized their safety because they were still young, and their life struggles were still long. But when Joo-hee tried to carry Jinwoo, suddenly her legs felt weak and couldn't move at all. After realizing this, Chi-yeol suspected that Joo-hee was almost out of mana from healing Jinwoo's leg earlier. Because of that, Jinwoo decided to stay at the altar, and Chi-yeol had to carry Joo-hee out of the dungeon. Chi-yeol initially argued with Jinwoo, but in reality, only Chi-yeol could carry Joo-hee. Then Joo-hee suggested staying there so that Jinwoo could survive. However, Jinwoo didn't agree with it and gave Joo-hee a crystal he obtained. It was the cost of treating Joo-hee to a meal and asking Joo-hee to eat first when she was outside. Chi-yeol hit Joo-hee's neck because they didn't have much time left to think of another way. Jinwoo was grateful because he was the last sacrifice and could save Joo-hee and Chi-yeol, who had been very kind to him. Finally, Jinwoo was alone there and would die soon. Jinwoo regretted not having life insurance. Then Jinwoo quickly took Kim's sword and prepared to fight the statues. At least, Jinwoo wanted to take one statue down with him. The statues then began torturing Jinwoo slowly. In Jinwoo's mind, he had always been the weakest among the other hunters, always underestimated and ridiculed by others. Honestly, Jinwoo truly wanted to become strong to survive. He worked hard every day and risked his life, but all his hard work had no results because he was the weakest hunter. Kim, a selfish man who only cared about himself. It wasn't just him who wanted to get out of this dungeon. Jinwoo also wanted to go home and meet his family. Those who had advantages always thought of themselves. On the other hand, Song-yi went to school as usual and met her best friend, Jin-ah, Jinwoo's younger sister. Song-yi knew that Jinwoo was a hunter, so she was determined to become better than him. After school, Jin-ah visited the hospital as usual to visit her mother.
お母さん、今日も来たよ。あと、この間の全国テスト。
After the incident, Jin Woo, who had been unconscious for 3 days, woke up in a hospital that caters to hunters. Jin Woo was confused about the situation he was in. He also checked his legs and found that they had returned to normal. Jin Woo thought that it might just be a dream. Soon after, Woo Jin-chul and Kang Ta-sik from the Korean Hunters Association entered Jin Woo's room to inquire about something. But before that, Jin Woo asked about the condition of Chi-yul and Ju-hee. Jin-chul said that Chi-yul's condition was improving, although he had lost one hand. However, Chi-yul would likely retire if he wished. Meanwhile, Ju-hee would remain under hospital supervision to recover from her trauma, and there was a possibility she wouldn't continue her work as a hunter. Jin-chul explained that only 6 hunters survived the double dungeon incident. Massive massacres like this were rare. The Korean Hunters Association and Guild White Tiger quickly arrived at the location mentioned by the surviving hunters, but there was no boss room as described. Only a narrow ordinary dungeon corridor was found, with Jin Woo unconscious. No bodies of the hunters were left there. Jin-chul speculated that Jin Woo had undergone a second awakening or reawakening since he was the only one left in the dungeon. Reawakenings sometimes happened to specific hunters and could result in a higher rank than before. Jin-chul had brought a crystal to measure Jin Woo's power ranking. In Jin-chul's opinion, at least an A rank or S rank hunter could have completed such a dungeon. If Jin-chul's assumption that Jin Woo experienced a reawakening was correct, the case would be considered resolved. However, the measuring device showed only the number 10, indicating that Jin Woo remained an E-rank hunter. This made the incident extremely mysterious, as the dungeon disappeared without leaving a single corpse. The Korean Hunters Association then left Jin Woo's room.
彼はどうやって生き延びたんだ。ダンジョンが消えてしまって再調査は不可能。
E 級でも普通は70を。あれじゃ一般人と変わりません。
Then, Jin Woo wondered why the Korean Hunters Association didn't see the notification window in front of him. He tried to touch the notification window, but it wasn't a touchscreen. Shortly after, Jin-ah visited Jin Woo with deep concern. Jin-ah scolded Jin Woo for always getting severely injured after completing raids. Determined to make Jin Woo quit his profession as a hunter, Jin-ah even threatened to quit school and take up work to support their living expenses. Then, Jin Woo suddenly asked Jin-ah, "Can you see this? When there's an unread message in a game, how do you open it?"
メッセージボックスを開けばいいんじゃない？
ボックスを開く。
頭の検査でも受けてくる？
次男、昔ゲームばっかやってたじゃん。
そういい、お待たせ。
After Jin-ah left, Jin Woo continued to contemplate the new system he had received. This system worked with Jin Woo's voice alone, and he attempted to open the daily quest commanded by the system. The title of the daily quest was Training to Become Strong. 100 push-ups, 100 curl-ups, 100 squats, and running 10 kilometers. If Jin Woo didn't complete the daily quest, he would face penalties. Initially, Jin Woo thought the system was just a dream, so he slept to avoid encountering it again. On the other side, Jin-chul reported his investigation results about Jin Woo to Gun-hee. The Korean Hunters Association had never dealt with a case like this for years. Gun-hee decided to classify this case as a special one for further investigation. In the Hunters Guild building, Choi Jong-un selected Cha Ha-ain to be an instructor for the next B-rank dungeon raid, including new recruits. Initially lacking confidence, Cha Ha-ain was convinced by Choi Jong-un, who considered her a reliable hunter. Cha Ha-ain only needed to fight as usual and guide the new hunters. Although Hunters Guild was one of the 5 major guilds in Korea, it lacked high-ranking hunters. Choi Jong-un aimed to improve the guild's combat capabilities. At night, a gate appeared in the middle of the road, causing traffic jams. Hours later, Jin Woo, now awake, was transferred to a desert as his punishment. Soon after, a giant poisonous centipede appeared behind him. The system indicated that Jin Woo had to survive there for 4 hours.
どうしたの？この部屋の患者さんが。病院の外に出たってことはないと思うんだけど。
まだあと2時間も。何体いるんだよ。もう限界。
いや、こっちには。私もう一度部屋の方を探してみる。ソンさん？ソンさん、大丈夫ですか？
Since that incident, Jin Woo began following the daily quest commands from the system. On the other hand, Ju-hee received a call from her guild leader to join a D-rank raid at a gate that had recently appeared in various parts of the city. Understanding Ju-hee's situation, the guild leader allowed her to decline the offer and informed her that Jin Woo was awake in the hospital. Happy to hear this news, Ju-hee went to the hospital to visit Jin Woo. However, something bothered her as she still thought about the incident. Hearing the nurses talk about Jin Woo, Ju-hee learned that he ran around the hospital every morning, ignoring the nurses' advice not to overexert himself.
甘くって大きくしたばかりなのに困ったものね。
One thing Jin Woo understood was that the status window in front of him was genuinely real. He also received a skill recovery reward that could restore his body's condition. Jin Woo began studying the system he possessed, including character status, points, inventory, skills, level, etc. All these systems were exactly like those in a game. The higher he leveled up, the stronger Jin Woo became. He also received a random box as a reward after completing quests, usually containing useless items. However, this time, Jin Woo obtained an instant dungeon key from the random box. In the evening, Jin Woo visited his mother, who had been hospitalized for years. He recalled an incident 4 years ago when his mother suddenly fainted. After bringing her to the hospital, the doctor diagnosed her with eternal slumber, caused by the appearance of gates and magic monsters. This symptom could occur when an ordinary human was exposed to a mana-emitting hunter for an extended period. Eternal slumber could drain the victim's life energy, and there was no cure other than prolonging the patient's life. Due to this, Jin Woo worked even harder to support his mother's treatment and his sister's education. One day, Jin Woo felt something different while working. Upon checking with the Korean Hunters Association, he discovered that he had experienced his first awakening as an E-rank hunter. Despite the discrepancy between his expectations and reality, Jin Woo was determined to become stronger. He then went to an underground station to try the instant dungeon key, equipped with everything and ready to escape if anything dangerous happened. After opening his first instant dungeon door, it suddenly closed on its own, surprising Jin Woo. A notification window appeared, stating that Jin Woo had obtained a teleportation stone to exit the instant dungeon. From this point, Jin Woo understood that the instant dungeon was a different dimension from Earth. He had to fight the monsters there alone, without a party or anyone's assistance. Jin Woo couldn't leave until he completed the instant dungeon, except by using the teleportation stone. Jin Woo then started exploring the instant dungeon and fought against 3 goblins. Jin Woo successfully defeated them, exceeding his expectations. However, shortly after, a wolf above his level appeared, and Jin Woo tried to withstand its attacks. Unfortunately, Jin Woo's dagger broke, and he realized that the strength of the monsters depended on the color of their names. Then, Jin Woo's legs suddenly couldn't move. Despite not experiencing trauma after that incident, he still felt fear.
トラウマなんてないと思ったのに